Alright, hey everyone, how's it going? This is Black Mamba 44 coming back at ya. Some more Tyranny. So last time we talked with Barik. Unfortunately, while I was talking with Verse about 20 minutes in, so I'm getting into the meat and potatoes of like her whole thing, my power decides to basically take a shit. So I realized I didn't save with Barik right after, which I'm going to do right now. If you look at Barik, I actually have 4 loyalty. Before I had 3 loyalty and 3 fear. So I have 4 loyalty. The only things I changed is I didn't ask him like how he takes care of himself, like jerking off or anything. Basically everything that leads to fear, I didn't do. For the one question about, why didn't the disfavored stop the Vendrine Guard uprising, I said, instead of asking him, or instead of saying, well, the real blame's the Vendrine Guard, I said, the Scarlet Corps should have done better, and, that brings his loyalty up really high. But right now, we are going to speak with Verse, and she's going to have some more interesting things to say as well. So let's get to it.
So, the Scarlet Chorus and Disfavored are at each other's throats. Can't say I didn't see that coming, but the Archons might have waited until one war was over before they started another.
Do you think I made the right decision?
Fighting with the Scarlet Chorus? Oh, never doubt yourself for backing the winning team. The Chorus has the best chance of succeeding in the tiers. For all their skill, the Disfavored are too stubborn by far. Who can say? War is all about compromising your morals, deciding who lives and dies. What seems like a mistake turns into your greatest call down the road. I'll say this much, our time together is anything but dull. My blades are yours for as long as you'll have me.
Noted. I have questions for you.
What do you need?
So we can ask her, we asked her this before, but it's, are you a spy for the Voices of Narat? She says I was, and to be perfectly fair, I think I've been more or less transparent about it, but that doesn't change anything about why I chose to travel with you. If I didn't want to, I'd just leave. What did the Voices want to know? He never told me, he just said to keep an eye on you, but there was an implication that I'd have an opportunity to report in, as if I would have. More likely, he would have stolen my mind and learned everything I knew, just to make sure I didn't leave anything out. So if you have any reservations about my discretion, keep that in mind. So, you were just doing your job, no harm. Tell me something about yourself.
If you insist. I'm a Scarlet Fury. That should raise some flags for you. It means that I'm good at killing, and more importantly, that I enjoy it. What I won't enjoy are the pleasures of funerary rites packed with weeping mourners. Someday I'll fall in battle, and then they'll roll me into a mass grave or heap me atop a shit-stained wagon. One more anonymous, knife-riddled piece of meat. Until then, I plan to take whatever I can from life and have a little fun along the way. The Scarlet Chorus is mostly for madmen and peasants with rusty daggers, but it's also a little niche of freedom that I never had. Once I survived training and met my Scarlet Fury sisters, I saw a different side of the Howling Mob.
Tell me about your training.
For new recruits shoved to the front lines, training means surviving the first battle. Anything beyond that is for the fighters who show potential, whether as blade dancers or arcane madmen. There's nothing in the world like getting put through the paces as a Scarlet Fury. Every day is a test of your commitment and passion. Failure means death. The first few weeks were the hardest, but also the most rewarding. I earned my name, picked up some quality weapons, and met my sisters.
Tell me about the Scarlet Furies.
The elite fighters of the Scarlet Chorus. Your typical Horde recruit fights with a rusty spoon and a chip on his shoulder, but the Scarlet Furies are, well, different. We focus our madness. We coordinate, we kill, we dance. It's like art. Imagine a sculpture that twisted in weird, beautiful angles, and then gutted you too fast for you to realize what was happening.
Sounds wonderful.
It is, as I remind myself all the time. The most important day of my life was when the voices of Nerat recognized my potential and sent me to Scarlet Fury training.
You earned your name? If you think a simple farmer from the Tears would name her child Verse, I suggest you visit my old village. Most of them were walking around with surnames like Barrel or Fish. Not the most creative bunch. Of course, takes your name anyway. Whoever you were before, you aren't that person anymore. Then you earn back a name through great deeds, usually murderous ones. That's why you see choirmen walking around with names like Stink Mouse or Face First. There's probably a good reason for it. Voices of Nerat gave me this name. When the Scarlet Chorus runs howling into battle, he doesn't hear war, he hears a symphony. And when I fight with blade or bow, he told me that my music stands out louder than anyone else's, and it contains too many parts to be easily defined. When you least suspect it, the Archon of Secrets can be downright charming. Asking her for a real name builds fear. Because, like she said, this is her real name, she doesn't care about herself from before. So asking her that builds fear. I'm not going to ask that. If you are interested in learning about that, then go right ahead. So tell me about your weapon skills. When I was just a kid, it didn't take me long to realize I was a natural. I could pick up a rusty kitchen knife and skewer a rat from across the room. Scarlet Chorus gave me opportunities to further educate myself. My sisters were always a bit surprised by how quickly I took to different fighting styles. Back to my questions about the Scarlet Chorus.
What do you need to know?
Who are your sisters? Who were they, would be more appropriate. Three Whispers, Red Geyser, and Seeking Sheath. Best fighters I ever met. So there wasn't a foe we couldn't take down together. Our fighting styles complement perfectly, so we divide up the killing work like bards sharing a song. At least we used to. Tell me about Three Whispers. She was as calm as the surface of a pond and light on her feet. More than one foe tripped and fell on their own blade due to Whisper's crafty footwork. Tell me about Red Geyser. A one-woman siege breaker. She would launch herself at her foes like a battering ram. Not even his favorite phalanx could have withstood that dumb, suicidal wench. Kairos' eyes, but she was something to behold. Tell me about Seeking Sheath. That girl could pass a spear through 12 rings from the far side of a battlefield. Kairos helped any foes who approach her marching single file. She made a game of spitting as many soldiers as possible on the same javelin. What happened to them? We were scouting around Vendrian's well during the siege, back when we only suspected the guard of organizing in secret. My sisters and I came upon a group of them, or Kairos knows, maybe they found us. No one said anything. We drew iron and bronze. That was when everything went wrong. I was supposed to take point and occupy the guard with a dance of blade work. Something disorienting while my sisters picked their marks. I hesitated. I lost my nerve. Instead of rushing the Oathbreakers, I froze with my weapon drawn. My sisters fought on without me, but they were off balance, like whatever I had was catching. They died. I lived. My sisters were relying on me to lead the dance, and I failed them. Your actions were inexcusable for a fighter of your station. You're absolutely right. If I had witnessed the same one of my sisters, I might have even killed her for endangering the rest of us. Good thing for me that they didn't get the chance. Hesitation is a rot. It's unbecoming of any chorus member and unheard of in a Scarlet Fury. I would cut it from my body and cauterize the wound if only I knew its source. Any thoughts on the topic, or are we just here to open old wounds? So we can say, do you think you hesitated because of your connection with Barik? And we gain loyalty, and that brings us up to 5 loyalty. She looks away from you, focusing on a point in the distance. You can see that she's chewing the inside of her cheek in thought. Yeah, it's a tough thing to imagine, but I think that what Barik and I share goes deeper than blood. He's in my head somewhere, and I'm in his. What you say is true, our connection was active before we even met. You sure have a knack for getting to the bottom of people, Fatebinder. Be careful with that. I have more questions about your sisters. I have more questions, Scarlet Chorus.
What do you need to know?
Who are the leaders? You've already met the voices of Narat, and apparently thought enough of him to put your trust in the Scarlet Chorus. The rest are all offshoots of the voices, like the Fifth Eye. Once you get down to the rank and file, the Scarlet Chorus organized around a motley bunch of gang bosses who call the shots. What do you want to know? Tell me about the voices of Narat. He's a madman, but that never stopped me from following his orders. Even in a legion as cutthroat as a chorus, you know better than to get on the voice's bad side. People who cross him, or just people he meets, don't tend to survive the experience. If he ever seems disorganized or lost, it's because he's channeling one of the personalities he's devoured over the years. His mannerisms shift over to someone else, someone who's probably long since dead. Better die than become part of the voices. So that's sort of his thing. He's supposed to have, he's supposed to be mad. And he seals the mind and knowledge of his victims. So that's sort of his thing. That's why we could hear Pelox Tyrell inside of him. So what makes him so powerful? He's the Archon of Secrets, and he didn't earn that title lightly. People say that he knows more than every sage in the tiers combined, and that he can think 1,000 steps ahead of the other Archons. It would be putting it lightly to say he's never alone under that disapproving helmet of his. If he makes secrets your business, I guess having people constantly whisper in your ear is a good thing. I usually want people to shut up, but to each their own. Tell me about the Fifth Eye. A walking nightmare, that one. I couldn't begin to guess who lives under that armor and speaks with that reedy voice, but I'll tell you what I know. When your world is built on secrets, it pays to have a few extra eyes. The voices of Narat has eyes in abundance. Some that he keeps close, and others that he sends out in the wilderness. Where the Fifth Eye was before he came to the Archon's service, now he's just a half-man, jabbering speech hole, bodily function. In other words, an eye. So, wait, Narat's eyes are people? Maybe they used to be people. Whatever they were, they're eyes now. Folks like to whisper that the voices of Narat takes his servants and cuts out all the extra parts that they don't need. I once heard the voices and the Fifth Eye in a tent together. Voices kept screaming, "Redundancies! Redundancies!" Every time another gat of blood would spray on the canvas walls. I can't even guess what he was cutting out. How many eyes does the Archon of Secrets have? Number keeps changing, either because it grows or because rumors don't mean shit. 3, 7, 19, so I'm going to say that all of us are eyes and we don't even know it. It's one of those questions that drives you mad if you allow yourself to think about it for too long. Hey, you could be one of Tunin's eyes, but you never thought of that. Let's go back to Scarlet Chorus leaders. Tell me about the gang bosses. Well, boss is anyone who can rally enough support to kill the previous boss. They cling to command till someone gets wise and stabs them in the back. Tipcap leads the Filthy Lambs. Lox leads the Rusted Harps. Sharp used to lead the Bone Boys. Couldn't say where he ended up after they broke his legs. Waterwheel orders around the Hairy Hunters. Hauls for Shit leads the Lazy Malkins. Then Scurvy Queen, Finger Food, and Wild Gash collectively lead the Ladies of Perpetual Strangulation. I'm forgetting at least a dozen more. I've even led a gang or two in my day. They never survived very long, so no point in getting attached. You led a gang? Don't act so surprised. I can crap a whip better than any of those daisies at the disfavored labor camps. But I was never that interested in the power struggle of those grunts and scabs in the middle. I wanted to stand on the top like an apex predator. Here I am. So when I got tired of a gang, I disbanded and let the other bosses fight over the new recruits. That much amused me, at least. Some of my old mates are still alive and hanging around wherever they ended up. Back to my questions about the Scarlet Chorus. Before you hesitated when you brought up your fighting styles. Why? Notice that, did you? It's a matter that I'm not used to discussing, mostly because I don't know how. I mentioned before that I'm good at picking up different weapons and fighting techniques. The truth is, I'm better than good. I could flay a man so cleanly that I'd leave a single strip of skin behind. He wouldn't even need to be tied down. That was one of the first things I discovered about myself after joining the Scarlet Chorus. The voice of Nerat recognized it in me as well, which is why he singled me out for Scarlet Fury training. So go on. My sisters were the masters of their fighting forms, but since they died, my style has changed, almost like I could kill as they did. I could pick up a bow, a lance, anything really. I could tear someone to pieces with a weapon that I only watch my sisters use. I don't know what it could mean, and that worries me. So let me ask you about something else.
What do you need to know?
So we can say I have thoughts about your combat abilities.
Do you now? Call me intrigued. You already know that I memorized the moves of my Scarlet Fury sisters. If it seems like a total mystery to me, I don't know how you could have arrived at any conclusions, but I'm open to ideas.
Did you take their fighting moves, or the memory of their fighting moves remind you of anyone?
If you want to split hairs over it, you could argue that I took their instincts, their reactions, but I failed to see... Wait. Are you trying to compare me to the voices of Nerat? The voices of Nerat is a monster. We both know that Tyranny has never seen a creature more despicable than him. Never mind that he's kind of my boss.
I'm not comparing you to the voices, only this talent you exhibit.
My little talent that latches onto my friends and bleeds them dry, you mean? Because I never asked for it. I've traveled with the chorus for years. I've seen what the voices can do, and it scares me, all right? The idea that everything I am could be reduced to that. If I had that kind of power, if I could become like him, I don't know how I could live with myself. I'd rather drown myself in a camp latrine.
You don't have to become like him, just be selective.
I'm sure he had the same idea when he got started. But you know what they say about power? It's usually wielded by assholes. My sisters died. You should have seen us. We were amazing together. I didn't mean to take away what made them special, but I did it all the same. And let me tell you, it felt terrible. If I lived a century, I might never figure out how to make that happen again. And more importantly, I don't want to.
How is it that you picked up your fallen sister's weapon skills? That's been on my mind for some time, and I still don't have an explanation that fits. I have a few ideas, but Scarlet Furies share a sort of link. It's how we coordinate our dance in the heat of battle. We don't pass messages or anything, but our emotions and intentions sync up without words. So, go on. The one thing I always knew was that I felt this connection more keenly than my sisters did. I could pick up nuances that they missed, and I could feel them from farther away. When my sisters died, I felt each of them getting yanked down my brain like someone pulling snails from a garden. But some of their slime residue was still there. Does that make any sense? I would take comfort in that. Your sisters live on in you. Your optimism was cute, Fatebinder. It's singularly useless. It won't bring my sisters back, and it doesn't fix this thing in my head that I don't understand. No matter how you paint it, some part of my sisters broke off in me when they died, and now I'm left to deal with it. Just another day in the tears, right? So let's see. I want to see if we can choose the other one, right? So you should exploit this skill to its fullest potential. Skill, not try to call it that. There's something parasitic about it, but I take your point. There's an advantage to this thing I'm experiencing. I'm not above using it against our foes. No matter how you paint it, some part of my sisters broke off in me when they died, and now I'm left to deal with it. Just another day in the tears, right? What are your thoughts on the disfavored? A warren of self-entitled children so wound up in delusions of honor, they're likely to hang themselves by their own high standards. I wish they had stayed in the Northern Empire where they belonged. Then we could get some real work done in the tears. What do you think of their leader, Graven Ash? I've seen enough of that high-minded braggart to know that he's all duty, nothing but a charismatic, broad-shouldered scarecrow. He calls himself the Archon of War, though by the way he stalls his forces waiting for a better strategy to present itself, you'd think he's afraid of battle. Barik, watch your words. I would not hear of you talking of the Archon this way. Was I even talking to you, Junkyard? And no, I will not. You would think that someone more deserving would take Ash's mantle from him, but the disfavored have this cult of personality built around their great general. In their eyes, he can do no wrong. What about Ash's connection to his troops? Graven Ash protects. His shoulders keep harping on those words like they mean something. I don't deny that the disfavored can take a few extra lumps on the battlefield, but that only speaks to their thick-headedness. If anything, it's only true because the soldiers place that much trust in it. I've seen the power of suggestion do stranger things to people. So, could that be possible? We're talking about a man who's centuries old and wears glowing armor. You tell me. So who would you see take Ash's place? I would rather let the disfavored sort it out among themselves. Graven Ash is this aging figurehead of what should be a constantly changing role. The right soldier needs to grow up here and kill the old man, kick his cane out from under him, remind the Legion what strength looks like. The Voices of Narat changes. He's a multifaceted gem. The Scarlet Chorus is a reflection of that beauty. If someone could rise up and strike down the Voices, any of us would follow them in a heartbeat. I suppose you have a better idea how to handle the disfavored forces. Of course I do. First, I'd stop babying the troops. Pain is a lesson best learned early. I'd conscript from the locals to bolster the front lines because why waste your elite on the vanguard? Then I'd leave any misplaced ethics back in the Northern Empire. They're not helping Garrus' campaign anyway, so fuck them. Excellent. You'd make them more like the Scarlet Chorus. Would that be so wrong? The Chorus is accountable for itself in ways that the disfavored aren't. Our weak die and the strong fight to keep their rank. The disfavored promote their waning bloodline and discipline any soldier with the audacity to show their teeth. Though they'll never admit it, the disfavored need the Chorus to show them the way. So back to my questions about the disfavored. Do you think the disfavored have a chance to succeed in the tiers? Speaking as one of the exceptions, most of the tiersmen are pushovers. People of stalwarts seem capable enough, though I have my doubts. You might call them the disfavored's best challenge. Even if they succeed, it might be too late to redeem themselves. The Chorus have already impacted the conquest more than the disfavored have, or likely ever will. And how many thousands of choirmen did your victories cost you along the way? As many as it took, Junkheap. So what are your thoughts on their battle strategies? They really got something with that phalanx maneuver, a formation built on holding still, moving forward slowly, and hoping that no one slips in the mud. At best, the disfavored are tired of using the same tactic over and over again. At worst, the enemy knows what to expect out of them. Scarlet Furies are dancers. We hear the music of battle and organize ourselves into works of killing art. Every fight is as hot and passionate as the last, with no room for stale routine. Barik, you speak of routine discipline as if they are weaknesses. The shield wall keeps soldiers alive. Chorus recruits fly to their deaths like moths to a candle flame. To burn out while covered in the blood of your enemies is more honorable than the slow march to a dignified retirement. Would you rather feel the bite of a spear while hewing an axe through your enemy's skull, or the clench of your heart's betrayal while you sit up in bed, aged and alone? He doesn't make any sound, doesn't even appear to be breathing. So let me ask about something else. What do you think of those who defy Kairos' authority? Tiersmen can either fight or submit to Kairos' peace, and only one of those options captures my interest. I suppose I appreciate when they go down fighting. If they did otherwise, I would need to find another excuse to flay them. They need to understand whether we unify the tiers under a shared banner at the bottom of a mass grave makes little difference to you, me, or Kairos. So that's an interesting view of the conquest. It's a pragmatic one, anyway. The Scarlet Chorus caught on to the idea at the beginning of the campaign. If no one objects that we're here to cover Bloody Path for gain and amusement, then by all accounts that is our purpose. Besides, unification is such a vague concept that Kairos allows the disfavored in the chorus to interpret it as they will. Goes back to the laws being pretty weird. The Overlord is concerned with the results. I'm happy to focus on the details, especially if that means cutting off a farmer's legs while his family watches their land burn. No shame taking pleasure in your work. No, there isn't. Fatebinder, I suspect that we're going to make something great together. A line of bodies stretching as far as the old walls. It's going to be beautiful. Did you fight at any notable battles? I spent some time in Azure toward the end of the war. Beastmen ripped my unit apart. We thought they might be working under Karen's orders, but we never found out for sure. So let's change the subject. You learned a thing or two about fighting in the Scarlet Chorus. Care to duel?
That would be an understatement, and I thought you'd never ask. Since you're obviously at a huge disadvantage, I'll let you pick our weapon of choice.
Let's try dual-wielding knives.
Exotic. Good choice. I'll leave you to guess which one is my dominant hand.
So now we gain 5 dual wield.
You held your own. Call me impressed. Need anything else, or did I tire you out?
So I want to ask about our travels.
What did you have in mind?
What do you think of our present circumstances? You back the winning team, that's all that matters. The Scarlet Chorus shouldered the weight of the conquest. Seems fitting that they get saddled with the cleanup. Graven Ash and his legion of fools will answer to Kairos and to us. Zigzagging around the tiers, pissing off authorities as we go. I suppose there are worse ways to occupy one's time. Any particular reason you've chosen to travel with me?
What? Did you have something in mind? It isn't that I'm not flattered, Fatebinder. I just don't think I'm your type. I don't have a gang anymore, and I wouldn't throw in my lot with any of the killers floating around the Scarlet Chorus ranks. The fact of the matter is you're doing important work, even if you stumble and flail along the way. Besides, once this Civil War business is taken care of, I figure anyone who follows in your shadow is due for some deserving reward. Though maybe some are more deserving than others. You've satisfied your curiosity, so let me satisfy mine. Why are you keeping a little scrap of a thing like me around?
I consider us friends, don't you?
Oh, boy. We're getting into that territory, are we? Look, I know that folks tend to buddy up when they're in a camp together, but I'm not really friend material. Hate to let you down, but that's the long and short of it. I can promise you I'll stay loyal to your cause for as long as you'll have me, but I can't promise that we'll share anything more intimate than a stiff drink when all this is over. Deal?
I forgot. I forgot the Scarlet Chorus is all about, like, strength. So just being like, yeah, you're a pretty good killer, and that would have been it. What do you think of our travel companions? Anyone in particular? What do you think of Lantry? I've been meaning to ask you about him. Lantry is talkative, reads when he isn't writing, and brings as much to the battlefield as a sick bird. Warriors at your side shouldn't suffer from the elderly's ache in their sword arm. You would be better served by putting him out of his misery. I like Lantry. I consider him a friend. Lost some loyalty. Barely, right? Oh, pardon the fuck out of me, Fatebinder. If I had known we were out to make friends, I would have brought my tea set and some stalwart hard cakes. I don't trust Lantry, and he's going to get us killed. If I see him twitch, I might just make the first move myself. And what do you think of Barik? I mean, my stinking brother in the iron suit? Well, I'll give him some due credit. He's more complicated than he looks. He's still an intolerant and unapologetic bastard. That's more his business than mine. Back to my previous questions. Go ahead,
Fatebinder.
And let's see if anything will occur if we say, have either of you noticed that you fight particularly well together?
The thought has crossed my mind from time to time. During the many battles of the Conquest, we found ourselves standing back to back with enemies on all sides on more than one occasion.
The big guy here is as useless as an empty scabbard without his phalanx to keep him alive, but I move fast enough to compensate for it. And it's nice having a living wall of rusted iron I can use for cover.
Do you think this is because of your shared heritage?
If you want to attach some arcane meaning to the whole thing, be my guest. I couldn't tell you for sure. I doubt that a capable tactician could explain why certain soldiers learn to rely on each other.
In the disfavored ranks, the Oathbound seem to know more about synchronizing their efforts, and the same could be argued for the Scarlet Furies. I don't know how they pair up their units, but it isn't by virtue of blood.
What we can do again, how do you think this is possible? We did this last episode, so...
I would suggest that our fighting styles complement each other, but they do not. I would suggest that we get along, but we do not. We don't even finish each other's
sentences. Okay, that was strange. Did you hear that? The next time I catch a whiff of Barik's meaning, I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Alright, enough, let's be off. And that was everything with Verse. So on that note, we're going to say it really fast. And I want to thank everyone for taking the time to watch this episode as well. Next we have Lantry, and that will be it. After we talk with Lantry, the episode after that, we are going to make our way to the Bastard City. We're going to keep trying to level up loyalty with Barik. Verse, we already have 5 loyalty, so we can actually look in factions and see all the difference. So we have Iron Storm, Vendrian Guard still hate us. Verse, we already had Death from Above, and I think that's it. I think you only get one cool little skill. So yeah. So I think we're good to go, guys. On that note, I think that I'm gonna call it quits right here. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank everyone just for watching this series. You know, at any point in time when you're watching it, I'm really thankful that you are. You know, and on top of that, I want to wish all of you a great day. And this is Black Mom 44 out.